The morning she left me, I was standing in our kitchen, flipping pancakes, humming to myself like a damn fool, while she was across town in a hotel room with my business partner. Her name is Dana. We were married for 9 years. I built my life around her. My business, my home, every dollar I made, every risk I took, I did it thinking I was building something for both of us, for our future, for the family we always talked about having, even though it kept getting pushed back. I'm Nathan, 41, self-made. I grew my construction business from a two-man crew with a rusted pickup truck into a multimillion-dollar company. I came from nothing and I made it, but I never wanted to make it alone. I wanted to share it with someone who'd believe in me when the checks bounced and the days were long. Dana made me feel like that person. She said all the right things, stood by me when I worked 16-hour days, helped decorate our first office, took care of the books when I couldn't afford an accountant. So when we hit our first million, I gave her 50% of everything. Not just the house, not just the savings. I transferred half the company to her name, because I thought love meant trust. Turns out, trust without protection is just a gift-wrapped invitation to be destroyed. What I didn't know at the time was that Dana had been seeing someone else. Not just someone random. Jason, my second-in-command. The guy I pulled out of bankruptcy 5 years ago. The guy I treated like family. They were careful at first, discreet, but greed makes people sloppy. One night, she left her laptop open, not even unlocked, just sleeping. I wasn't trying to snoop. I was just grabbing it to move it off the couch. But when I touched the trackpad, her messages lit up. I shouldn't have looked, but I did. Once the transfer clears, we're free. He still has no clue. Poor guy. This time next month, we'll be in Cabo, celebrating what we deserve. I stared at the screen for a full minute. Then I closed the laptop and smiled, because what Dana didn't know, what neither of them knew, was that the transfer she was banking on, the one she thought gave her the golden ticket to my life's work, came with one clause, just one. And that clause was about to save everything. Sometimes betrayal doesn't come from enemies. It comes from the people you protected the most. But when they think they've played you, that's when you play your final card. Comment below if you've ever trusted the wrong person with too much. And don't forget to subscribe. I let them think they'd won. But behind the scenes, I was setting the stage to take it all back. After I saw the messages, I didn't scream. I didn't throw things. I didn't even confront her. I kissed her on the forehead that night before bed like nothing had changed. I played dumb very convincingly, because now I had a timeline, target, and most importantly, leverage. See, a year before this all went down, I'd worked with a corporate attorney to restructure my company. We were taking on bigger projects, state contracts, government bids. I needed legal protections. One of the things we drafted was a reversion clause buried deep in the ownership transfer documents. It stated that if either party violated the terms of trust or attempted to sell assets without mutual consent, their ownership would legally revert back to the original grantor. Quiet, simple, binding, and it had Dana's signature all over it. At the time, she thought it was just legal fluff. Standard protection, I told her. Just in case someone comes after us from the outside. The irony still makes me smile. So I let them run. Over the next 2 weeks, Dana started shifting our accounts. She rerouted business income into a new LLC, one she secretly co-owned with Jason. They even scheduled meetings with clients behind my back, trying to transition everything under their new umbrella. I watched them do it, silently, patiently, and I kept every receipt. I downloaded emails, pulled transaction logs, hired a forensic accountant. Meanwhile, I played the role of the tired husband who was stepping back from the business. The one they thought was defeated, distracted, done. They got sloppy. One night, Jason showed up at our house while he thought I was out of town. Dana had wine on the counter. 2 glasses, the same vintage we served at our wedding. I watched from my truck, parked down the street, lights off, heart pounding, but steady. They laughed like winners. But the thing about cheaters is they always mistake your silence for weakness. They didn't know I had already contacted our lawyer. They didn't know I had initiated the clause. And they sure as hell didn't know I had power of attorney tied to a second document that allowed me to freeze all company operations until the transfer was resolved. So I waited for the perfect day. And when it came, I hit them with everything. It all came down to a Thursday. I waited until Dana and Jason were in a meeting with two of our biggest clients. The same clients they were secretly trying to poach under their new, rebranded company. I knew where they were. I knew what they were planning to say. And I knew they had no clue what was about to hit them. 10:03 a.m. I called the bank. With the reversion clause officially triggered, and my power of attorney documents approved by my lawyer, I froze every company account tied to Dana's name. The primary operating account, the payroll fund, the expense credit lines. Gone. On hold. Instantly. 10 minutes later, I sent an email to every project lead, every contractor, and every supplier. Simple, professional, but firm. Effective immediately, all operations under company name must go through me directly. Any redirection of funds or projects outside the official entity will be treated as breach of contract and reported. Attached were legal notices. Filed, stamped, verified. Then I sent one final message to Dana and Jason. No greeting, no emotion, just a forwarded copy of the contract they both signed, highlighting the reversion clause in bold. You shouldn't have underestimated what you signed. Within minutes, my phone started lighting up. Calls, texts, emails. First from Jason. What the hell is going on? You can't do this, man. You're acting crazy. Then from Dana. Nathan. Please, can we talk? You're making a huge mistake. Don't ruin everything we built. But I wasn't ruining anything. I was protecting it. And they were about to learn the difference between betrayal and consequences. By the end of that day, the clients they were meeting with had already pulled out. Our lawyer followed up with formal cease and desist letters to Jason's new company, which, by the way, was registered using a fake EIN under my original vendor accounts. That alone carried potential criminal charges. By Friday morning, Dana's access to the business backend was gone. All her logins revoked. Office keycards disabled. Her name scrubbed from every operational system, because the moment she violated the agreement, she forfeited every right she thought she'd stolen. And just like that, the empire they tried to take became a fortress they couldn't even get inside. She showed up at my front door 2 days after I pulled the plug. No warning, no text, just the sound of knocking at 7:41 p.m., the kind of knock you recognize in your bones before you even see the person behind it. I opened the door, and there she was, Dana. No makeup, hoodie half-zipped, puffy eyes. She looked like a ghost of the woman I once loved. Or maybe just a ghost of herself. Can we talk? She asked, voice small. I stepped aside. Not because I wanted her back, because I wanted to hear what lie she'd try to spin next. She sat on the edge of the couch like it belonged to someone else, fingers fidgeting, looking everywhere but at me. For a moment, we sat in silence, the only sound being the ticking of the clock on the wall I'd forgotten to take down since she moved out. Finally, she spoke. I messed up. No defense. No long-winded explanation. Just 3 words dropped into the room like a match near gasoline. She kept going. I thought I was building something better with him, but it wasn't about him. It was about power, control, feeling like I wasn't just living in your shadow. I nodded, slowly, let her say what she needed to say. She looked at me then, really looked. You were never the problem, Nathan. You were the safety net. And I took advantage of that. I let the silence stretch again. Not because I didn't have something to say, but because I needed her to sit in the truth for a moment. Then I spoke. You didn't just walk away from a marriage. You tried to walk away with my life's work. And you would have done it smiling. She flinched. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't curse. I just said the one thing I'd been holding on to for weeks. The man who trusted you enough to give you everything, he doesn't live here anymore. She started crying. Really crying. I didn't know what I was doing, she said. Please. Is there any way we can undo this? Fix what we broke. And for the first time since the day I saw her messages, I felt something real relief. Not because she was sorry, but because I wasn't. I stood up, walked to the door, and held it open. "You should go," I said. "Whatever you're feeling, that's yours to carry. I've already let it go." She stood there for a second, hesitating, hoping maybe I'd say something else. But I didn't. And when the door closed behind her, it didn't feel like an ending. Felt like freedom. Jason never had the patience Dana did. Where she was calculated, he was impulsive. Where she played the long game, he swung fast and messy. So I knew he wouldn't stay quiet for long. Sure enough, 3 days after Dana left my doorstep in tears, Jason went online. A ranty, half-coherent Facebook post, riddled with vague threats and veiled accusations. Some people will do anything to make themselves look like the victim, even rewrite contracts, even lie to lawyers, even ruin people who once helped them. He didn't name me. He didn't have to. Mutual clients knew exactly who he was talking about. I could have responded, fired back, corrected the record, but I didn't, because what Jason didn't know was that every angry word he posted was being saved. By the lawyer I'd put on retainer weeks earlier. By the PI who'd already submitted a full report on his involvement in the attempted asset grab. By the digital forensics expert who traced the fake EIN they used to register the new company right back to Jason's own laptop. All I had to do was wait. He thought he was being clever. Thought his little meltdown would rally sympathy. That maybe he'd scare me into backing off, into dropping the civil claim we'd filed for breach of fiduciary duty. Instead, he walked straight into legal quicksand. Because within 48 hours of his post, my legal team filed for an injunction, complete with screenshots, time-stamped evidence, and a signed affidavit from one of our former clients who said Jason had tried to entice them away with false information. And here's the best part. In his rage, Jason had also publicly admitted to accessing our company systems using credentials after his termination. That alone violated both the IT clause and the cyber liability agreement he signed when I promoted him to partner years ago. Translation: he didn't just lose the right to sue. He opened the door to being sued personally. Frozen accounts, seized devices, a subpoena for his email records. He tried to go loud, but I buried him with silence. Measured, legal, permanent, and just like that, the man who thought he could steal my company walked right into a legal corner with no exit. By the time the paperwork cleared and the legal noise died down, I sat alone in the office I once built with both of them. Dana's framed certifications gone from the wall, Jason's name scrubbed from the partnership plaque. Just me, and silence. The silence felt strange at first. No tension in the air. No eyes watching from across a boardroom table, waiting to twist every word I said. No gut feeling that something was happening behind my back. Just peace. For the first time in over a year, I had no one left to fight, and I wasn't sure how to feel about it. So I got in my truck, drove to the outskirts of town where the dirt roads still crackled under your tires. I pulled over near the first property I ever built. 2 bedrooms, crooked porch, bad plumbing. I remember fixing it myself on weekends, trying to prove to Dana that I could turn dreams into drywall. Now it just looked small. But the version of me that built that house, he didn't care about revenge. He didn't need contracts or clauses or contingency plans. He just wanted to create something solid, something that would last. And somehow, after all this time, I'd gotten back to that. Not because I destroyed the people who betrayed me, but because I refused to become them. Jason will deal with court. Dana will live with the choices she made. That's not my burden anymore. What mattered is that I'm whole. I'm clear. And most importantly, I still believe in building. Just not with people who only ever plan to steal. Starting over isn't as dramatic as people think. It doesn't come with fireworks or motivational speeches. It comes with early mornings, quiet coffee, and the discipline to keep showing up when no one's clapping. After everything that happened, with Dana, with Jason, I didn't rush to rebuild. I took time. I talked less, listened more. I revisited old client relationships, not to pitch them on a comeback, but to reconnect, to be human again, to remind them I was still me, even if I'd been dragged through hell. And one by one, they came back. Not because I begged, because they remembered how I worked before the mess. And slowly, brick by brick, I began building again. But this time I did it differently. I hired with intention, not based on resumes but on character. I brought in people who'd failed before, people who had something to prove not to the world but to themselves. And I made one rule crystal clear. We don't chase shortcuts. We don't cut corners. We build it right, or we don't build at all. I wasn't just rebuilding a company. I was rebuilding standards. My name meant something again, not because of a court ruling, not because of what I won, but because I lived through betrayal and didn't let it change who I am. And one day, months after it all, I found myself standing on a job site, watching a new building go up, steel beams rising, foundations poured clean and level. The sun hit the concrete in a way that stopped me for a moment. I realized I didn't feel broken anymore. I felt proud, because no matter what they took from me, they couldn't take that. They couldn't take the part of me that still knew how to build something honest, something real, something that lasts. It didn't happen in a courtroom or with a final signature or during some dramatic confrontation. It happened on a quiet Wednesday morning, sitting alone in a corner cafe, sipping my coffee, answering a few emails, and suddenly realizing I felt at peace. No anxiety, no weight in my chest, no lingering anger waiting to boil over. Just calm. After everything I'd been through, the betrayal, the lies, the manipulation, the legal battles, I was still here, still standing. But more than that, I was whole. That's when I understood something I hadn't been able to see while I was in survival mode. I didn't just get justice. I got my life back. Yes, I reclaimed the business. Yes, the courts ruled in my favor. Dana and Jason were held accountable, and every dirty trick they played eventually caught up to them. But none of that mattered as much as what I found within myself in the process. They tried to tear down what I'd built, not just professionally but personally. They wanted to reduce me to a man who lost everything, a man who'd beg, break, or lash out. But instead, I became the man who stayed patient, stayed silent, and fought with precision. I didn't meet fire with fire. I met it with structure, clarity, and truth. I turned betrayal into blueprints, pain into progress, and loss into the foundation for something far more honest than anything I had before. I look back now not with regret but with clarity. What they stole, I rebuilt. What they damaged, I repaired. And what they tried to take from me, the belief in who I am, in what I'm worth, I claimed back without needing revenge, just resolve. Because in the end, the real victory wasn't about destroying them. It was about never letting them destroy me. So if you're listening to this, and you're in the thick of your own storm, if you've been betrayed, blindsided, or left questioning everything, know this. The storm ends. The noise fades. The people who betrayed you move on, thinking they've won. Let them. You're not building your life to prove them wrong. You're building to remember who you are. And that's something no one can take. They thought they buried me, but I wasn't buried. I was planted. And now, I've grown into someone they never saw coming. If you've been through something like this, drop a comment. Tell us who you became after they tried to break you. And if this story helped you in any way, subscribe. Because more than ever, the world needs stories of quiet strength, of silent victories, and of people who didn't just survive. They rebuilt better.